PseudoPod is extruded into this universe from a dimension of purest fear. It's beautiful in its own alien way, but what's to come will unsettle you. PseudoPod, episode 846, January 1st, 2023. This week's story, Ye Good Old Ghost Story by Anthony Boucher. Hello everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to PseudoPod, the weekly horror podcast, and welcome to our 1927 public domain showcase. Over the next few weeks, we'll walk you through some good old-fashioned nightmares, now in the public domain, but no less toothless. This story first appeared in Weird Tales, January 1927, under the pen name William A.P. White. The author, real name Anthony Boucher, was an American author, critic, and editor who wrote several classic mystery novels, short stories, science fiction, and radio dramas. Between 1942 and 47, he acted as a reviewer of mostly mystery fiction for the SF Chronicle and wrote mystery reviews for many years in the New York Times. He was one of the first English translators of Jorge Luis Borges, translating The Garden of Forking Paths for Ellery Queen's Mystery magazine. And he helped found the Mystery Writers of America in 1946. He was a founding editor, with J. Francis McComas, of the magazine of fantasy and science fiction from 1949 to 1958, and attempted to make literary quality an important aspect of SF. He won the Hugo for Best Professional Magazine in 1957 and 58. He also edited the long-running Best From Fantasy and Science Fiction Anthology series from 52 to 59. He wrote short stories for many pulp fiction magazines in America, including Adventure, Astounding, Black Mask, Ed McBain's Mystery Book, Ellery Queen's Mystery Magazine, Galaxy Science Fiction, The Master Detective, Unknown Worlds, and Weird Tales. We here at PseudoPod will always love him most for They Bite. Your narrator for this week is the always fantastic Rish Outfield.
Rish Outfield is a writer, voice actor, and audiobook narrator. He got his start co-hosting the Duna audio fiction magazine and That Gets My Goat podcasts, where he and Big Anklevich attempt to waste time entertainingly. He also features his own stories on the Rish Outcast podcast.
So, without further ado, get ready for a good old ghost story. One that is, as ever, we promise you, true.
Ye Good Old Ghost Story by Anthony Boucher. Narrated by Rish Outfield.
"But there ain't no such thing,"
said Jed Hoskins' old man forcefully. "No such thing as what?" queried the stranger with the black bag, who had just seated himself near the group.
"Hants,"
Jed hastened to explain.
"Granddad Miller there, he says the old Lawrence home's haunted. And my dad, he says it can't be, 'cause there ain't no hants."
"Aren't there, though?" said the stranger, half to himself.
"Ye believe there be, don't ye?"
asked Granddad Miller hopefully.
"Yes, I do. I had a horrible experience once over in England."
"England?" This from Jed, who thought it a place only geography teachers could be familiar with.
"England it was.
Would you like to hear about it?"
Yes,
came a chorus of assent, even from old man Hoskins. "All right." And so he began. "It must have been about 2 years ago that Lord Phantom Heath invited me to spend the weekend at Phantom Heath Fields, his ancestral domicile. I accepted with pleasure, and promptly forgot all about it. I was to have left London on the... well, I don't exactly remember the train, but it was somewhere about noon on Friday. I didn't remember my engagement until about 6 Friday evening, and then I hurried down lo más pronto posible."
"Low Mass?"
asked Grandad Miller, the only Catholic in Higginsville. Lo más pronto posible. It's a Spanish phrase meaning as quickly as possible. Oh, Percy, that is, Lord Phantom Heath. A gasp of surprise went round. A man who could call a lord by his first name was awfully angry at my being late. Harry, he said, if we weren't such good friends, I'd cut you altogether. Well, Perce, said I, as long as you don't cut me all apart, it's all right. But that's just what might happen, he explained. If you stay, you will have to sleep in the chilling chamber, otherwise known as the Bloody Bedroom. It was there that my revered ancestor, Lord Felix of Phantom Heath, committed suicide by slitting his throat with a razor. Since then, every guest that has slept in the beastly boudoir has been found next morning with his throat cut. A shiver ran around the little circle, even though the fire was blazing gaily away. "Did you sleep there?" asked Bob Hill. "Of course. Would I be afraid of the ghost of a long-dead Englishman? Never. So Percy had Barracks, the butler, show me upstairs to the horrible haunt of the suicidal spirit. Feeling marvellous, I began to dress for dinner. Now, if it hadn't been for Percy's sister, Alicia, it might never have happened. But I was hopeful of persuading her some day to marry me. She was pretty, rich, and of one of England's best families. Can you blame me? I'd already shaved once that day, but the thought of Alicia inspired me to shave twice in one day for the first time in 5 years. I had lathered my face and was all set to begin. Then I saw in the mirror a horrible form at the other end of the room. It was absolutely and indescribably horrible. It was one of those things that are unmentionable, that should not be. It had a slight semblance of human form, but it was horribly distorted. It was unholy, sacrilegious. It is not healthful for a man to see such things. Slowly, it advanced on me. I was helpless, spellbound, standing there motionless with the razor in my hand. An arm appeared from nowhere on the shape, seemingly projected like the pseudopod of a protozoan. "Like the witch of a what?" asked Jed. "But never mind. Anyway, an arm appeared. The thing was now standing directly behind me. Slowly, it reached out and seized my hand. I could not move. Still more slowly, it drew my own razor in my own hand across my throat." "But you're not dead," Bob Hill objected. "How come?" "Wait a moment, and you'll see." I came to in Alicia's arms. She was supporting me while Barracks poured brandy down my throat to revive me. "My hero!" cried Alicia. "You freed the family of its curse. It has been foretold that if anyone survived the gruesome ghost's attack, the ghost, of course, would never be able to appear again." "Alicia," I said, "I claim but one reward. Will you marry me?" And Barracks discreetly turned his head. And so we lived happily ever after. "But I don't see," Hill reiterated. "How come it didn't kill you?" "Very, very simple." "But how?" "I was using a safety razor. Now, gentlemen," he went on, opening the black bag, I have here a very fine assortment of Burnham triplex safety razors at very reasonable prices.
Oh, you better believe you'll be hearing that pronunciation of PseudoPod again. What a lovely story! Not just because we enjoy a shaggy tentacle piece as much as the next one, but who doesn't love a story that's basically an M.R. James parody with added guitars? I especially love Barracks the Butler. What a name. And also how Boucher sets up the what moment with the fact that the guest room of death has had more than one victim and then moves past it so fast we don't really have time to think about how little sense that makes. We just get swept along. It's beautiful stuff. The entire story is that type of parody that almost never lands. Affectionate, but still cutting. Clear-eyed, but not cruel. But to the surprise of no one, it's where it gets meta that I truly love it. The double header of the ending and the sales pitch that follows it says something profound about how we buy into stories and how stories are built to make us buy into them. The question becomes the answer, which in turn becomes a punchline. And suddenly, the story has us off balance, laughing when we weren't expecting to, disarmed. Then, the sales pitch. It's a perfect piece of grift. A textbook example of placing your audience where you want them to be. A true story, if you like. And a great way to start the year, too. Thanks to the Boucher Estate, Rish Outfield, and Chelsea. We rely on you to pay our authors, staff, and cover our costs. It's tough right now. So if you can support us, please do. We've got PayPal and Patreon subscriptions that start at $5 a month. Both get you access to our audio archive. The Patreon subscription tiers get you all sorts of goodies at the higher levels too, and please, help out if you can. It's always needed. If you can't help out financially, please consider talking about us, because that helps a lot too. If you liked an episode, please link to it, or blog about it, or leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. It all helps, and with your help, we can keep doing this. This episode, like every one before it and next week, is distributed by Escape Artists Incorporated and released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Join Chelsea and I next week along with Hugo Jackson for On the Isle of Blue Men by Robert W. Snedden. We leave you for the first time this year with this quote from stunning illusionist Derek Del Gaudio, whose special, in and of itself, was a highlight of my 2022. Magic doesn't exist in the hands of a magician. It exists in the mind of the audience. We will see you next time, folks.
An arm appeared from nowhere on the shape, seemingly projected like the pseudopod of a protozoan.
It's a pseudopod. It's a big foot.
It's all about podcasts these days.